untranslatable.
There exists an allegiance between the dead and the unborn, of which we the living are merely the ligature.
Who is it at the other end of this sentence?
The other night is always the other, and he who hears it becomes the other. He who approaches it departs from himself, is no longer the one who approaches, but the one who turns aside, goes hither and yon. He who, having entered the first night, seeks intrepidly to go towards its profoundest intimacy, towards the essential, hears at a certain moment the other night.
If people in general do not think about death, if they avoid confronting it, it is doubtless in order to flee death and hide from it. But to hide from it is, in a certain way, to hide in it.
Two of the most profitable errors are taking the constrained death as onanism and humour as the flippancy before it. They are the exact opposite. To not be in the past, not even the present, as poetry is also a reflection of the language works of the time, and this is a responsibility to the new time of the arteries.
What is the strangest thing your body has done?
One must die in time.
What do you call a person who talks in their sleep? What do we call a person who talks after death?
What does our great historical hunger signify? Our clutching about us of countless other cultures, our consuming desire for knowledge, when, in fact, if one cannot predict the physiology of decay, inevitable when we are so competitive about how little we sleep, how little sleep we need to survive, for it will not matter anyway. We will be so tired that we will hardly notice the decisive moment of change when the exhaustion becomes dead, like being lost in the desert. Is it thirst or is it shock?
Prosopopoeia, the voice from beyond the grave, speaks from the grave. The epitaph uses rhetorical strategies that animate the dead, and thus blur the boundary between life and death. It is precisely the person who has just died that is most alive.
I have decided to call someone every day.
Every day someone calls me, but doesn't leave a message.
Life does not tell stories. Life is chaotic, fluid, random. It leaves myriads of ends untied untidily. Writers can extract a story from life only by strict, close selection, and this must mean falsification. Telling stories really is telling lies, like writing the scene of a death.
One was a social researcher. One was a rocket visionary. One thought the world was flat. One wanted to decorate nuclear warheads with art. One fought surf to save 4 drowning orphans. One respelled English. One carried timetables and receipts in her wallet. One bred cocker spaniels and rabbits.
There was a multitude of ways employed by the invisible fictional hand to stop the immense human population explosion which is causing all the trouble now.
One traded horses. One had a reverence for the subtleties of wood. One wrote 1,000 editorials. One had a propensity for grand gestures. One rescued a duckling foundering in a pond. One had his larynx removed. One held on to the tenets of modernism. One practiced, long after they had fallen out of fashion, talking cures.
Our attitude had not been a sincere one. To listen to us, we were, of course, prepared to maintain that death is the necessary termination of life, that every one of us owes nature his death and must be prepared to pay his debt. In short, that death was natural, undeniable, and inevitable. In practice, we were accustomed to act as if matters were quite different.
When I forget my password, the computer asks me, "What is your greatest fear?" When I Google life after death, I get results for life after data.
Sir, your qualifications are outstanding, but we have decided to go with another applicant. We found you to be spiritually unremarkable.
The more determinedly I exist as myself within the conditions of time, the more clearly I shall hear the language of the past, the nearer shall I feel the glow of its life.
Love you too. Can you tell us about your order and I have been made? This will help me out. I am not a good time. The only way I could have a good time. The only way I could have a good time. The only way I could have a good time. The only way I could have a good time. The only way I could have a good time. The only way I could have a good time. The only way I can see the full amount of time. I have a look at the moment. I'm a little wild so that we are able. I think it was not the same if it was just the thing to remember.
I'm saying this through a medium. The only use the dead have of the living.
Thank you very much.